And so when you're watching the movie, overall, when you step back and like look at the movie, what does it feel like? Because obviously none of us really have this experience. What does it feel like to watch a story about yourself, and what did that make you feel?
I think it's the gift of that experience that even for me to watch it with my loved ones, that it brings us closer together because they can go through what I went through. The film is such an authentic, vicarious, real living experience there, that it's all of that emotion. It's the exhilaration of adventure in the beginning, and then the shock of the entrapment, the despair, the regrets, the love, the reaching out for those fondest memories, and what is worth living for. And then that exhilaration, the triumph of liberation, and the salvation of rescue. All of those emotions, to go through that with my wife, my sister, my mom, my best friends from high school, we're crying. I mean, most of the film, because it's about the gratitude. I mean, that's what I realized in that experience, was that there's something more important than amputating the arm, and it was about being back with those people.
Amazing. So you're back at it, and we all know you're back, and you still do climb. When you first went back out climbing, you mentioned earlier that you were as bold as ever, at least right after, but you said things have evolved for you. So what was it like when you first went back climbing, and what's it like today?
Yeah, the experience in the early time after the amputation was really about proving that I was good enough, that I was still capable. That, and actually that had been a theme even before. That I think from my background, just I was an intellectual kid, and I'd been ostracized. I didn't have the social skills that I think a lot of my peers did in school. So I'd been bullied and kind of shoved aside and marginalized, and so I had a lot to make up for. At least that's what our egos do, right? Is we feel inadequate, and then we have to build ourselves up. So my athleticism, in a sense, was about that, which only became more important now I don't have a right hand, so there's even more to prove. Right. After a time, then I realized I'm just going to get myself back into the same situation when I walked into that canyon. I'm going to kill myself out here, one way or the other. So there was a realization that I learned some lessons in the canyon, and how am I going to implement those? And it was a shift over time of towards relationship and away from just accomplishment. And that same shift meant that when I was out climbing or rafting, previously, if I was skiing, it was about the sensations and experience and ego of skiing, almost irrelevant who I happen to be with. And now, for example, if it's about going out and skiing, it's about being with my friends. And who cares if we're skiing at the top of our level, or if we're having the greatest powder day ever or something. It's just about the bonding.
Friends and experience, the social experience.
Yeah.
And,
I'd much rather.
I can climb that next greatest hill, or do that big jump. Yeah.
The fulfillment of reaching a mountain summit, for example, compared to taking my 11-month-old son out, this very same son that I envisioned in the canyon, who's in our lives today with my wife, that Leo and I and Jessica, we go down to Boulder Creek in Colorado, and we walk along the stream and see the little ducks and swimming, and the squirrels in the trees, and just all these very rudimentary elements of nature. But that natural experience seen through his eyes, my son's eyes, that is something much, I think, deeper and more fulfilling than standing on top of a pile of rocks for a few minutes. And so there's still an experience of appreciation in nature that it charges my batteries up. Yeah. But it's much different than the ego fulfillment of, skiing off Denali or whatever. These things. I roll my eyes a little bit because it's kind of, the days of youth, but even though it was only a few years ago, I'm still growing up.
Cool. So I guess I'd have to ask as well, of all the people in the world to have a best conversation with, who would your best conversation be with, and why?
Yeah, I've thought a lot about with the competition, and it's inspired me because I've had a great deal of opportunities over the last 7.5 years to meet some really fascinating folks, and still yet there are conversations that I'd like to have with some of the people who have inspired me, or when I think about myself, like I was a mechanical engineer, and that led to partly I think my my success in the situation I had. Problem solving, analytical thinking, rational, critical observation. The ability to plan and project consequences and make contingencies for that. Those were great skills that helped save my life in the canyon. Yeah. But I've always admired the people who are creative in our culture, people who are artists, musicians. And so for me, my favorite band is Fish. And of the guys in Fish, the lead guitarist, Trey Anastasio, is the band leader as well. And he is, to me, just an icon. I kind of idolize him because I don't understand how is it that you do what you do. How do you come up with the songs that you come up with, the lyrics, the music, the improvisation of playing, and how the whole band just can morph on stage. Yeah, exactly. And 4 people not following a script, just like using the. It's really a connection, and so that would be
cool.
That would be my conversation.
Well, I'm an engineer too, and I have the same thing when I watch music. I'm like, I can't understand how they're so coordinated and harmonious. It's just amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, I'll take a slide rule.
yeah, exactly.
Not that I've ever held a slide rule. Sorry.
And so, for everyone entering, for Canadians that are looking at entering Best Conversation Ever, do you have any tips on? How to make a creative submission that will get you your best conversation?
Yeah, I think the key is to think, at least for me when I think about it, is a personal connection. Like, who inspires me in my life? Who do I have a connection with that I would like to have that conversation to fulfill that? So I think there's the temptation to think of the kind of the top tier of our culture. I mean, maybe like the president or I don't know, the richest man in the world or something. Right. Like, okay, great, but
like the obvious ones.
Yeah, that there's something that, and maybe you would have a creative conversation. So don't steer away from it if there's really a connection that you have with that. But to think maybe more along the lines, if you're a student in a particular discipline, about who's at the top of your field that could mentor you or give you some advice or perhaps give you a perspective. So I think thinking personally and creatively, that as the judges in the contest, I understand you're looking for not only a popularity kind of component, getting people to vote for your conversation to happen, but also the creativity of how you structure that pitch, as it might be. That, like, why do you want to talk to these people?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's great. Well, get on bestconversationever.com and. It's basically going to set up so that you basically make your submission, and we're looking for people to tell us who of anyone in the world they want to talk to and why. And exactly along the lines you said is that it's really not about just the obvious ones. It's really about digging into that next level and getting into what is it? Is it a scientist at the top of your field? Is it a scientist who won the Nobel Prize for something that you're interested in personally, and what's your connection to that? It's an author, an artist, a director of an amazing film, director of your film maybe, who's obviously very well known, and so it's really about Canadians thinking about who would your best conversation be? Who would it be of anyone in the world, and why? So you hit it right on.